moments where it is tech death, but there's also lots of brutal moments on this as well. Like on the songs Hayato and Backdraft, and especially the title track, Molten Giant, and maybe a few moments on the first song. But this is one of those albums that definitely got a lot of praise, and most certainly deserves it. So that is number 9, Exocrine with Molten Giant. Number 8. I have done this before in the past. I don't necessarily like doing it, but this is a spot that is taken up by 2 albums from the same band. It is rare that an album or a band releases 2 albums in the same year that are actually competent, but this is a shocking example of what people can do within a year. But this, number 8, is filled by Esok Trillium with Inhuma and Pandemorphium, forbidden formulas to awaken the blind sovereigns of nothingness. Good lord. This is about 2 hours, a little more than 2 hours of content here. 2 A5 media book kind of things, released by Void Hanger. So you can see the spider lady at the bottom. But this is a cacophonous, horrible mess of a hellish, swirling Armageddon of music. This is one of those bands that you can't even really believe is a one-man band. I'm almost certain this is a one-man band, but the amount of talent that goes into something like this is pretty awe-inspiring. I love the artwork and the layouts of these albums. Just, again, aesthetics are a huge thing for me. And this is one of those bands and one of those labels that does it right. I put these both on the same place because I didn't want to have... I mentioned that I like this album a lot more, but I didn't want to have this one like at number 23 and have this one at number 5. I just didn't think that really made sense. So I kind of just put them together. These are both phenomenal, extremely artistic, but also brutal and horrific sounding black and death metal albums. If you don't know of Esok Trillium yet, may this year be the year that you find the gospel that is its horrifying visage. Go check out Esok Trillium. Hopefully I'm saying that right. So yeah, that's number 8 with Inhuma and Pandemorphium. Running out of breath here. Number 27. This is an album I don't want to say I pooped on when I first listened to it, or I brought it up on the channel, but I mentioned a lot of things I didn't like about it. But I listened to this so much more than I thought I would after my first couple listens that, I don't know, I just had to put this really high up. This is Liquid Anatomy by Alkaloid. Their last album, God, what was that album called? Malkuth Grimoire, was very high on my list for, I think it was 2015 or 2016. This is a little different than that album. Like I said, this is almost kind of like a heavy metal or like a rock pop-ish kind of like syllable filling techniques. Like the vocals, there's a lot of singing on this album, and the way the singing is presented almost feels like a really high quality, big, like, production kind of thing. Like, I'm trying to convey what the heck I'm trying to say here without saying this sounds like a sellout band. Because I feel like that's what's coming across right now. All I'm trying to say is that the vocals are super catchy, and the way that the vocals are presented with the lyrics reminds me of a pop band, even though they're talking about crazy science and like monsters and stuff. I love this album. I can't say that enough. I know I'm not doing a very good job of it right now, but this is one of those albums that I listen to many, many times in a row just because I wanted to. I still think the last song is not very good. That's the biggest reason why I didn't like this in the beginning. But every other song is so good that it just makes the last song tolerable, I guess. Just Colonel Panic, Liquid Anatomy, Interstellar Boredom, which is my favorite song off the album, Chaos Theory and Practice. The end of that song is just straight fire. Yeah, check out Alkaloid. No other band in the world sounds like them. Really weird, artistic, and yet progressive and experimental, science-y tech death. I don't know if I'd say it's like straightforward tech death, but it's somewhere in there. It's a liquid genre, if you catch my drift. So yeah, that's number, what, 6? 7. Alkaloid with Liquid Anatomy, released by Season of Mist. Number 6. This is another extreme surprise. I feel like there are only a couple albums on this list that I expected to be on this list. And this is one that is definitely going to catch me some flack because it's a pretentious album by some people's approximations. But this is Ordinary Corrupt Human Love by Deaf Heaven for number 6. I don't care what people say. This is absolutely, without a doubt, 100%, cannot change my mind, the best Deaf Heaven album. I've listened to all of them very extensively. I've been a big fan of this band for a long time, even before they got super popular. Hipster me, of course. But this is them finding their perfect sound, I feel like. Just super heartfelt and also, I want to say, brutal delivery of all the vocals and instruments. Pure emotion, and also catchy songwriting. Just, I mean, give me a break. How can you not love Honeycomb and Canary Yellow? I mean, those two songs are definitely like in the top 10 of my favorite songs for this year. Just every song on this is amazing. I do agree that the first song is a little tone deaf, but it's up here on the list for a reason. I listen to this so many times and it still gives me chills just to think about it. So yeah, number 6, Deaf Heaven with Ordinary Corrupt Human Love. Number 5, when I first talked about this on the channel, I was extremely passionate about this album, and I'm still madly in love with it, and it deserves every bit of attention that it ever gets. This is Frightened by Voices. This is another tertiary project band from some of the members from Acrocock, some overlapping members between the Antichrist, Imperium, Acrocock, and Voices. They all kind of intermingle at some point. But this is an extreme divergence from their normal sound. This is almost more of like an alt or goth rock sounding album with like metal themes, dare I say. Almost more like it's made by metal musicians, but it sounds like a different genre, but you can still tell that it's metal. I don't really know how to get that point across without sounding like a total buffoon. But every single song on this album, except, I'm sorry, the song Manipulator, is a bad song. I don't think it's necessary on the album, but every other song on this album is a 10 out of 10. Rabbit's Curse, Evaporated, I Won't See You Again, Dead Feelings, that's my second favorite song. Funeral Day, Home Movies is really spooky. And my favorite song on here, Footsteps, probably top 3 favorite songs of this year. Phenomenal, exquisite, artistic album that takes a long time to really gestate what just happened. It's not super long, it's not short, but it has a lot of meat to it without sounding complex. So that's number 5, Frightened by Voices. Number 4. This is very quickly becoming one of my favorite death metal bands. I listened to this album and their last album I showed here recently all the flippin' time. I just can't get it off my mind. This is Ignominies by Bukkake. Fun, brutal, grinding, slamming death metal personified within 50 or so minutes of music. I don't know how this band isn't ginormous. I kind of hope they start making albums a little faster, because if they keep up the quality that they release with the, let's just say if they released albums as quickly as high quality as they are, they might be one of the biggest death metal bands in the world. How could you not love this band? Just every song on here, Brehane, the compilation of like Mario songs on the song Mario Whirl, Celestial Decimation, I think that's like a 12-minute long song. Just ridiculous, horrific lyrics, but almost kind of in a way to where it's like a jest, or maybe self-aware that it's so brutal that it's kind of funny. Ridiculous band, ridiculous premise. I think they're a French band or a Canadian band, one of the two, on Transcending Records. Go check out Bukkake. That's number 4 for my end of the year list. Way up there. Listen to this more times than I can remember. Okay, we're getting to the top 3 now. These are the biggest, baddest albums of the year. And pretty much all 3 of these are very contentious to be number 1. I'm not really sure if any of these could switch places, but if one of them didn't exist, then it would be hard for me to pick a number 1. This number 3, A Parting Gift by Spires. This absolutely is the album I have thought the most about in my entire life. Without a doubt. Not even a contest. I have studied this album more, almost obsessively, since the time it came out till now. My opinion on this album has changed so much since I first heard this. When I first listened to this, it was almost kind of disappointing. It is not what I wanted it to be. It is much more chillax, I guess. There's almost no fast moments on this album, but what this album lacks in tenacity like their last album had is made up for in many, many factors of greater beauty in the songwriting. The vocals are so much more bombastic and professional sounding this time around. Excuse me. One of my favorite singers in the whole world now. From any genre, even from metal, from pop to folk or whatever. His range on this album is just insane. Gorgeous songwriting, extremely lengthy songs. My favorite song on here is either The Chord of Clashing Skies, which is arguably the most ferocious song on the album. Lots of creative stuff on that song as well. But probably my favorite song is A Parting Gift. If every song on this album sounded like that, I would be perfectly fine. That song is a masterpiece. One of my favorite lyrics of the year. That which remains is that which dwells in the memory of others. I mean, just true goosebumps every time I listen to this album. I pre-ordered it and they sent like artistic updates for this phenomenal jaw-dropping artwork, and it's also signed. I'm extremely happy with this album now that I have spent the proper time thinking about it and kind of growing up with it. This is a band that I love so much that I want to criticize it and make it perfect. I know I'm kind of gushing about this album, but I really do care that much about it. This is one of those albums that everyone should hear. It's real. It just feels good, and that's that. That's number 3, Spires with A Parting Gift. Number 2, Memories Engraved in Stone by In Oblivion. This is one of my favorite funeral doom albums of all time now. This is one of the most horrific, crushing, jaw-dropping, just unbelievable heavy albums that has ever been made. Not only is this fantastic funeral doom, but it does step outside of the boundaries of funeral doom. It has fast moments. It has very depressing, atmospheric moments. The vocals are some of the most thunderous, monstrous, just inhuman, guttural lows that have ever been achieved by humankind. Please do more. Do what Daniel Niego did and do a slam album with Unfathomable Ruination. I would love to see that. I cannot gush enough about this album. There's only 4 songs on this, and it is a very lengthy album. Wreathed in Gloom, and Even Mourning, Memories Engraved in Stone, and In Perfect Misery. The first and the last song are probably my favorites. Incredibly memorable, just... I can't think of enough words or adjectives to describe this album. It's just one of those albums that appeals to every fiber of my being. It is brutal sounding, it's depressing sounding, it's heavy as balls, and it's also pretty underground, so I can be a hipster about it. So that's number 2, In Oblivion with Memories Engraved in Stone. Excuse me, while I itch my nose. Number 1. This will also be a first for the series. This is the first time the same band has gotten a number 1 spot. And that only leaves a couple options. But this is absolutely, without a doubt, my favorite album of the year. This is my most played album of the year. This is my most enjoyed, my most blasted. This is Of Harm and Salvation by Malady. This fundamentally is, again, a perfect album. This is one of those bands that is so big and ambitious that I don't know how more people don't know about this band. I wish maybe they were on a bigger label or something. I don't know if that would change the music or what. But this is so creative and so outside of the box and so original that I've never heard anything even close to what sounds like Malady. There's a bunch of tertiary instrumentation. The vocals are deranged. There's a lot of singing. There's a lot of, even now, growls. Insane, like, questionable sanity with the vocals. Like I said, I did a review of this album. They sing almost at a key where it is just off enough to where it makes the atmosphere kind of spooky. It sounds like they know what they're doing, but it makes it sound like they're kind of losing it. And the way that they're able to create such an atmosphere with such simple leads, like especially the first song that they released, Profundidus. Definitely my favorite song of the year. My most played song of the year. Debonair, another one that just ultra dynamic music. Every song on this album sounds totally different. I like this more than their last album, and their last album was my album of the year last time. So if that says anything, go check out Malady, the most underrated band in the whole world in my opinion. And that's going to conclude the list. This is my #1 album of the year, Of Harm and Salvation by Malady. Everything will be in the description. Now, here are a couple bonuses that I don't think I've talked about this year, but they're not necessarily full lengths. The new Benighted EP, Dogs Always Bite Harder Than Their Master. This is me and my wife's favorite band. Death grind at its highest peak. There are a bunch of really, really cool live songs on this that don't even sound like they're live songs. They're so high quality. Guest vocals by people that they were touring with at the time, like Cytotoxin, Aborted. Even the songs on here, like Slaughter of the Soul, the cover, and the 3 original songs are just straight fire. Go check out the new Benighted EP. This next one is one I was really excited for, and it did not disappoint. I got a pretty good amount of merch from this. This is Shrine of Malice with Malignance. There's also a blue version of this. The one I got is numbered here in silver Sharpie or whatever. This is really cool, like almost blackened deathcore. The vocals are definitely very blackened sounding. I don't know if necessarily the music is, but this is more super high quality deathcore, blackened deathcore if you want to call it that, that I just can't get enough of. I wish this was longer. That's the only gripe I have about this. This is an EP, and I cannot wait to see more from this band. Again, awesome artwork. And I think that's going to do it for this one. A couple other notes. The new Gavura, Soul for Soul, fabulous, totally amazing album, or mini album EP. And the Mizmor compilation that slid out there, Michelet, a compilation of a lot of the songs from the splits that they've done over the past years. I've listened to this a whole bunch, and it's surprising how continuous it sounds. It doesn't sound like a compilation of just songs. It sounds solid. Surprising to say, because a lot of the songs are from different years. And I think that's going to do it. I think that's the last album I have to show. Hopefully you enjoyed this almost hour-long video. My throat's kind of sore. I don't talk this much usually. Hopefully you found some stuff from this that you will enjoy. Maybe you agree with my assessments of these albums. Maybe you don't. Oh well, this is my album list. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments. Go check out the description for all the albums that I talk about here. And I'll see you next time with a new video here soon. Happy New Year. Mwah.